limped in. And so when someone does this, it's usually aces or kings. When they limp shove, it's aces or kings. But limp raise, let's see, he had 11 bucks, so he didn't shove, but that's a real big raise. So this is really dubious too. So I guess this is just when fishes collide. We're going to see what happens. And I'm hoping I just get it in at this point. And that's what I do. So at least I did something right here in the hand. And he gladly calls. And he's got ace queen, which is not something ever, ever, ever you want to be shoving under the gun offsuit in a full ring game ever. So looks like that money got returned to me. The flop and kings hold up, and I win. So again, there's a little lesson, some hand reading skills there. Do not min raise out of the small blind or big blind. If you see it, really keep in mind in the back of your head, a lot of times it's aces or kings. This guy's play here with the ace queen and just defies expectation of good play. Ace queen is a decent hand, but in early position you're trying to take advantage of, okay, I'm raising pre-flop and really leading out at the flop, assuming you're just heads up or something like that. So it's not nearly enough that you're going to be stacking off with in a full ring game at these micro limits. Okay, here's an interesting hand. I've got the ladies in the cutoff and a 36 to 1.7. So his VPIP is 36. That means he's in 36% of the hands. And his pre-flop raise is 2%. So here's a guy who gets in with a lot of hands, and a lot of them are going to be bad. He's only raising with the absolute premium aces, kings, queens, or ace-king hands. And he's really only going forward in a hand if he actually hits something like at the flop. So someone like this is just an absolute fish. They'll limp into a lot of pots and they'll give up right away. And so this is just someone that could help pad your stats. And when they do get a hand, if you've got a monster, they're never letting go, so you can just shove. So this guy limps in. Folded around. We got another limper. So at these micro limits, after a while, I learned I've got to raise 4 times the big blind plus 1 for every limper. Later on, if you want to raise 3.5 or even just 3, like at 100 no limit or 200 no limit, that's fine too. But for now, you really should be raising 4 times the big blind plus 1. So this raise should definitely be, we've got $1, $1.25, $1.50. So this raise should be $1.50, and I know at this point I hadn't quite learned that, and I just make a standard raise to 75 cents. It really should have been double that, at least $1.25. But you really got to account for these limpers and make them pay a price. You don't want 4 limpers when you've got queen, queen, because some idiot's going to have ace 3 or king 8 or something stupid, and you're not going to know what to do when the flop comes ace 10 3. So really make them pay the price when you've got a hand like kings or queens or even jacks, or ace king or anything else that you're going to be raising in late position. You've got to account for these limpers and make the price even more steep. So predictably, under the gun calls, and the other guy calls, and the flop comes 8-8-9. This is a great hand for queen queen. Is it doubtful that someone with an 8 is in here? Yeah, it's doubtful. Someone with maybe 9-10, that could happen. 9-10 suited. 7-8 suited could be a possibility by the same token. Otherwise, you're really looking at a lot of like ace king, ace queen, ace jack, king queen, king jack, king 10, king, whatever. So chances are we're way ahead here, and let's see what happens. Sorry. So it's check to us, and we pot it. The pot bet's all right. It's not great. There's some merit in potting this, but just a nice bet to $2 would have been fine. Again, you want to be continuation betting with 66 to 75% in mind of the pot. And if you can't do the math, there's a lot of scripts called AHK scripts, which you can look up at pokersoftware.com, and it'll just right-click and know the correct amount. And this allows you to multi-table, but otherwise, the math shouldn't be too hard. So our under the gun limper guy calls, and we should note he didn't raise us, so he's got something cooking. whether he's got a 9, whether he's got 10 jack, 6, 7 suited. It's doubtful he's got an 8 because he would have raised us. He might be slow playing, so we'll just keep that in the back of our mind. And this guy folds, so that's fine. 5 hits the turn, so 67 did make a straight. But, I mean, that's like the one hand that he might have that has us beat. And he just shoves here. So, really, like, to me, this says I don't have much. This says to me that I have top pair, or maybe even an overpair. Actually, 10s really sound like this. This looks like 10s to me. So, the good news is that we're way ahead here. An 8, I mean, if he's slow playing the 8, he's not betting. He's going to check raise us. If he made the straight, he's check raising us. So this shove really tells me that he's got something that he's kind of scared of losing with. So it's probably like an ace-9 or pocket 10s kind of hand. I call, and he flips over queen 9. And looks like I take it down. Okay, here's the hand from even smaller stakes, 5 cent, 10 cent. So this is like going back to the Cretaceous period for me. So we get an under the gun limper. A lot of people love to limp. I guess they're not comfortable yet. This is kind of like me in Pot Limit Omaha right now. You don't quite have the grasp of, okay, these hands I'm raising with in these positions, so they just kind of limp and let me see a flop, and hopefully I hit it. So raise to 35 here, and again the 4 times plus the limper, so it should have been 40, 50, 60 cents. Way too small a raise. Should have been a lot more. Get big blind call, under the gun calls, and this guy calls. And king 210, this is definitely something we should be checking. We're either barely ahead or way behind, really. And anything we bet, we're getting called by any flush draw, any straight draw, any pair of 10s even. Obviously, anyone with a king might raise us. So we should really be checking through, and it checks to us, and we take a stab at it, which I admire the guts, but it's not the smartest move here. We get the call, so this could be a weak king. It could even be king deuce, 2 pair, but I think someone like that would raise us. So I'd say flush draw, straight draw, king type hand, maybe a 10 type hand. And we hit our jack, and so, I mean, ace queen does make the straight. Queen 9 makes a really weird straight, which we're not going to put him on. But we have our set, and it's just almost impossible to ever let go of a set at this point. And he checks into us, and we bet $2, which is about 66. It's not too bad. 250 would have been a good amount. Even $3, I wouldn't mind. And he just check raises us all in. And at this point, we've got way too much committed. It's $3 into I guess a pot of $10 roughly. Yeah, well, more than that. So we make the call, and he flips over king jack. Definitely could put him on that. So way ahead of his 2 pair, and we take it down. Okay, last hand. Pocket aces again in late position. And definitely want to show you, don't slow play aces. Don't be creative. Just bet them. So we have a short stack here. You'll notice it's only $5 at the $25 table. Short stackers will just annoy you forever. So just get used to it. He bets $1, and I min raise, and I probably should have just put $5 out there to get them all in, or just make a raise to $3.50. But the min raise is real weak, and just min raises in general, just especially pre-flop, just don't have a purpose. So he calls, really not a dangerous flop at all unless he's got, he hit a set, which is really unlikely. He shoves into us. It's a no-brainer. We call, and he shows ace-jack for 2 overs, and he's pretty much drawing dead to runner-runner jacks, which he doesn't hit. And we take it down. So that's how you deal with one of those guys. So this is Sean for Tide Poker. Hope you enjoyed this stroll down memory lane for me, and we'll have more in coming weeks. Take care.